Like he just came up with an EMF shirt and apparel that he could just consistently have with him.
Well, I do wear those lambs underwear that are blocking EMFs. I don't know if Brandon thinks about those, but I do. Of course, that TSA in the airport is not a good idea. No. I had to strip down because that
poor
picked up the silver.
Brandon was doing so good, and then we took it here at the very end. He just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying to all that.
One of the topics that I won't say the word preach, but I certainly have studied and I've spoke about as people's eyes are gazing over, is EMFs. And Clint actually knew what that was.
I did. I'm a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, he's picking up smart after a few years on this. Electromagnetic fields. And these fields are something that is more concerning to me as the years go on, especially for our young generation. And it's kind of like in the 50s where everybody recommended smoking cigarettes, but until the 60s and 70s, they didn't start seeing correlations to things. But I think the demon in this is more hidden because of the massive profits and technology that's surrounding it. And we need to be better advised. And I always say, you're not going to run from it. We can't live in a cave. What I want to do is create a sleep sanctuary at night so my body at least has 8 hours to find its balance. And today we have Brandon from BLUSHIELD. Welcome to Vital Health Radio, Brandon.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, I know you're very knowledgeable on this. I have played around for years with, I'll call them gadgets, and things that would help perhaps take care of maybe some of the deleterious effects. That's a big word, Clint. Deleterious.
I'm looking it up as you talk.
It's 5 syllables, so I know you're a 3-syllable guy.
One Scrabble. Good job.
And so I want to do all I can and not have to turn my life upside down. I do unplug my router at night, but when I got your product, yours was the final product that I think I will need and get because, one, the philosophy of it sounds very logical. 2 is, I know on your website you're talking about people's sleep improving. That's probably been my biggest challenge over the past 40 years. And I use an Aura ring. I really monitor very closely, and I do all the things I know to do. And on your website, it said, pretty quickly you could start sleeping better. Well, that's not true. It took 30 days. And I can tell you, I've been using your 2 devices now for probably 5 months, and I love them because the Aura ring itself is showing the best sleep I have had in so many years. So first off, Brandon, you're the expert. Tell us, why should we be concerned about EMFs, electromagnetic fields?
Well, I come from a background of herbalism from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective of the Japanese lineage, and I was doing that long before I got involved with BLUSHIELD, actually. And we understand from our perspective, we look through the lens of 5-element theory, and basically we look at obviously we're electromagnetic water machines on the physical level, but we have these mental, emotional, physical, and kind of otherworldly, spiritual, if you will, components to ourself. And one thing that I didn't see being very well addressed in the health and wellness space from a full spectrum perspective is EMF hygiene. I mean, there's all these signals bouncing around from, dirty electricity transients in your sine wave coming in your house all the way to your Wi-Fi routers, cell towers. Everything's basically pinging us with this chaotic signaling that basically disrupts our endogenous signaling through our voltage-gated calcium channels. And a lot of people don't really understand that our nervous system and our heart and our body in general is physiochemical. That's why we use substances, herbs, peptides, things like this to actually send signals endogenously and get our body to become more in balance and harmonized. But people don't realize that these signals from the environment that we get from nature are actually very beneficial. That's a form of EMF that's very helpful and keeps us in balance. And that's why, forest bathing and getting out in nature and camping just makes people feel so good and relaxed. However, these non-native electromagnetics, I like to call them, that are man-made and generated, are repetitive signals in the environment that really hammer us on the cellular level.
That makes total sense. And I love the word harmonize that you use, because lack of harmony seems to be the message of the day for everybody. And I certainly have felt my lack of harmony. And I really believe that we need to find some solutions, because we can't run from this thing, can we?
Right. And I use harmony in a specific context because BLUSHIELD isn't necessarily a harmonizer, and we can dive as deep as you want into that. Really, what people need to understand is that if you took a spectrum analyzer and just basically read nature everything with the dirty electricity, the non-native electromagnetic radiation, and the magnetic field of the Earth, the sun, all these kind of energies in the environment. There's nothing but energy, right? So a lot of people in the EMF space, they tend to demonize EMF and just say, this is the enemy, we need to attack it, we need to block it, we need to live in a cage and disassociate, where you can't, all points in time space are connected, and really it's really about coherence versus incoherent fields and what that does to our biology and what signals that sends. So I'm not a hammer that sees everything as a nail. It's very nuanced, and there's a lot of specificity to EMF remediation and how we protect ourselves against these non-native electromagnetics. And a lot of people just try and blanket say all EMF is bad, block everything, live in a Faraday cage. And it's not as simple as that.
Excuse me, a couple quick things. First of all, I think it's listening to Dad talk about the smoking and how it used to be, 9 out of 10 doctors, they smoke cool filters or whatever. It's also one of those things, if we can't see it a lot of times, we don't think it hurts us, right? It's the invisible stuff. So we're just very visual creatures. And so sometimes we're like, I don't see any damage. And so we don't associate with how we feel or long-term stuff. But the flip side of that's more of a statement. Feel free to respond when I open it up back up to you. But the question is, after you respond to that, how does this work? You and Ed are deep divers on this. I'm just a consumer out here trying to pay bills and raise kids, and I'm busy. I hear things like this all the time. How does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to your first point, subjective experience is all over the map, right? I mean, most people don't even know when they're dehydrated or need additional protein, and they can't really, there's no body awareness, body consciousness, and their subjective field could be very, very sensitive or very insensitive. Right. It's kind of like soft plaque with heart disease. Heart disease, you don't feel it until you feel it. Yeah. So you want to be preventative as much as possible. And with this type of technology, this is really why we did the independent review board clinical trial on our product that produced amazing, statistically significant results. How it works, basically what we're doing is we're taking an algorithm and phase conjugating it to where it basically goes to a 0 point. So it's creating what's known as a scalar field. And I know in an 18-minute talk, we can't really even scratch the surface on the magnetodielectric nature of reality, how everything works. But basically,
listen, you're making me look up a lot of words in real time, man. I'm not that smart, but yeah, keep going. I get you. Yeah. This is a deep topic.
I try and keep it simple, but I want to give it its due for
absolutely
purposes.
Yeah,
because words have meaning, right?
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about creating a light signaling device, it's basically a microprocessor that creates the field effect that basically goes out into the room. You plug this device in the centermost point of your house. It basically sends an omnidirectional field, meaning a field effect in all directions, and it creates a sympathetic resonance entrainment at the cellular level. And that just means that the body tunes into it. So I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton's work. I like to reference it for this piece because I think it's really fitting. But he did these Petri dish studies where he would put live human cells in a Petri dish, set up cameras, and put something that's toxic on one side of the Petri dish and something that's nutritive or beneficial. And in every single case, the cells migrated towards what's beneficial and away from what's toxic, basically showing there's like an inherent consciousness even at the cell level. And what this means is that the body, we are designed to be out in nature, and all of these fields and scalar potentials and these electrostatic charges, which are plasmoids, which is basically a charge cluster, all of these things are influencing our biology on a second to second, millisecond basis, actually. So when we're out in nature, we feel good, grounded, we feel this balance and this harmony, and there's this energetic exchange. You can think of all of our cells in our body like transceivers. So they're transmitting information to the environment. They're also receiving signaling from heat, atmospheric pressure, just a whole bunch of stuff we could get into. So what BLUSHIELD does is it mimics how nature changes. So it has two main principles built into it. So there's coherence. So there's this mathematical geometry to the waveforms that are these multiple waveforms that are phase canceling, and they basically mimic the body in the way to where it's like it feels like it's in nature. But there's also the randomization principle, and this is where I think a lot of devices in the EMF space, harmonizers, even powered ones that are actively generating a field effect, they kind of fall short in a sense because they're just repetitive. They're just another repetitive signal in the environment, and the body might feel really great for a few weeks or maybe even months, but the body tends to tune that out. It's like doing the same 10 push-ups every day for 3 weeks. I mean, you get stronger as you progress, and then you hit that peak potential. And then when that peak potential is saturated, it's like you're not really getting any growth, or, you know, you're getting circulation and some benefit.
Like a diminishing returns type thing.
Yeah, it's a bell curve. Yeah, exactly.
I know that, again, that I'm very positive about my feeling of confidence within the protection devices that you offer. I also was very impressed on your website with the videos. The most places lack research. You actually had some very credible, seemingly credible research on this. Again, for somebody who goes and they really want to go to Wikipedia or some other places or Mayo Clinic, you're not going to find much to substantiate this. I live in the traditional world. I also live on the other parts of the whole universe of health and healing, which traditional people are not going to embrace. And I think we need to have both, not one or the other. And your system makes very valid sense to me. And I think common sense is an important part of creating a plan for our health. We don't always have to have PhDs.
You told me real quick, Ed, you said you had two of his
I have 2 devices.
What are they? People know.
I have this watch that I wear, which is actually barely a watch. I mean, it does tell time, but it doesn't do anything else. Is that right? And but it has this on the back side. It has these lights that are put out. I have to charge it every day. And so this is my portable version of my protection when I'm at work. And then at home, I have a fairly large, it's like a triangle, and it sits in my bedroom, and it puts out the protective type of scalar energies that we want. I also bought one for my daughter last year, the smaller version. So I've actually had 3 different BLUSHIELD devices. And when people go to your site, Brandon, if they do order, I just want to make sure I don't forget this. If they put the word Nut World, stands for Nutrition World, Nut World in the coupon, they will get a good, nice little modest discount if they choose to do that. So,
real quick, are there other products that you offer, or
Brandon,
are those the ones?
Yeah, Brandon, tell. I actually don't know. I just know I have 3 different ones.
Yeah, so there's basically 2 primary products that we offer. One is a home stationary unit. It's the primary source of protection. So if people are on a budget or can only afford one thing, we always tell people that they should use the device that's the home unit, because it plugs into the mains power. It has the strongest field effect. And that's where you're going to be sleeping or spending most of your time. You can actually unplug it and take it to the office if you need be. And then we have portable devices that are travel devices, which we just released 3 new ones today in the Ultimate Series line. Actually just went live. And those are basically great for, running to the store, if you're catching a flight or you're going on a long drive and you just want to, carry that with you. They're less powerful, but what we found over the years is that once you're entrained to the main BLUSHIELD algorithm, it's basically enough to keep sweeping the cells and keep the body entrained when you're in transit or under fluorescent lights or driving, cars with millimeter waves beaming out of them now. So those are our 2 primary protections. Then we have different entry-level models and then premium grade models, basically.
Now, those new ones, they're electrically activated or plugged in, or batteries, or how do they work?
Yeah, so the new Evo one, which is kind of my personal favorite, this is the one I just started carrying. That one basically, it is powered, so you use a USB-C connector, so you can fast charge these new ones. The old models, you used to have to use a 1-amp charger, so we changed the circuitry to where you can do fast charging now without damaging the circuit, and it basically has a 2,000 milliamp battery. So, I mean, I've had this on consistently, just testing it out, and it's been probably 8 or 9 days, and it hasn't even, there's 4 bars that show you the power indication level or the battery power level, and it hasn't gone down a single bar yet. So I'm guessing this thing will go run for a month straight without needing charging.
Wow. Now, are you carrying that in your pocket, or how? Yeah,
I only carry it. I've just been running it just to test it. Usually you don't really need it when you're at home. So if you have a home unit and you have that, say you have the big Evo Cube or the Evo Pyramid, you basically just have that. When you come home, you just turn your portable device off. That'll batteries are kind of finicky and they have, only a certain number of charge cycles. You should be able to get 5 to 7 years roughly on a portable. But basically you just turn that off because your body's always going to entrain to the strongest signal in the environment. And I liken this to listening to the radio. Let's just say you're in your car, you tune your tuner to a carrier signal. That carrier signal has the informational wave packets or the information of the song. Your basically your radio transcodes that and basically creates a compression and refraction field, which is like an acoustic wave, and you hear music, but you can't listen to all the stations at once. You're only tuned into a particular station, and this is important to know because all the other radio stations are still bouncing around. You can just change that dial and tune into any one of the carrier signals. So think of BlueShield as like a radio station that you're tuning into. All the EMF is still around you. It's not harmonizing. It's not changing. It's not changing the inherent physics of radio frequencies, microwave frequencies, any of these things that are in the environment. You're just tuned into a specific radio station. And what we found is that the body just tends to go into the state, and this is what we've shown in the clinical trial. It basically silenced the voltage-gated calcium channels. So the voltage-gated calcium channels, when they're exposed to radio frequency, they'll actually flood the cells with 100 times the amount of calcium, which is huge if you think about the ramifications of endogenous cellular signaling. And so what we found is that it basically hushed that or calmed that down over 204 GPC sites.
Wow.
And this is all on the website for people that want to dig into it later. We have a full-length video. It's on our education, and we have the blog links and the PubMed index stuff. But basically, the long and short of it is the body starts to seem to reallocate immune power because it's not fighting this invisible enemy. It's like mounting an immune response against all the time. And some people, if they need to cleanse, or let's say they're not exercising or hydrated or, in their healthiest state, some people will have mild fatigue for a few days. They might feel like a little Herxheimer reaction or kind of detox effect. And that's simply because the body is actually able to mobilize the immune system, and or we think that's what's happening. It's able to mobilize the immune system and kind of clean house,
That makes such good sense in your scientific conversation, and I think people appreciate that. And, you mentioned the word voltage-gated calcium channel. I've talked about that for many, many years. I'm not going to really go into it, but it has, like you said, the influx of calcium into a cell. And why are we having so much more anxiety, depression, immune system disorders, and autoimmune, blank, blank, blank? And I truly think, just from a casual observation in this town, once 5G hit, I saw a lot more people having more struggles. And so we're about out of time here, Brandon, but you did a great job explaining that.
I got to add my 2 cents on this. Man, I wish you would come up with something that Ed could just screw into his back or head, that he could just walk around with all the time. Because now when you said that, how do you carry that around? He got very intrigued. Is there something I could just, he just came up with an EMF shirt and apparel that he could just consistently have with him?
Well, I do wear those lambs underwear that are blocking EMFs. I don't know if Brandon thinks about those, but I do. Of course, that TSA in the airport is not a good idea. No. I had to strip down because that
poor
picked up the silver.
Brandon was doing so good, and then we took it here at the very end. He just I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying to all that.
Hey,
it's intriguing stuff.
Oh, I've got opinions on everything,
Well, that's why I like that kind of person, and I do too regarding health. So again, if people go to your website, they type in Nut World, and they can get a pretty nice little discount if you decide to order something. And what is your website, Brandon?
It's BLUSHIELD.com, and that's blue with no E, BLU shield.com.
All one word, right?
All one word. Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Did a great job, and I know that people will be appreciating, because we have probably 400 people a day walk into Nutrition World. There's probably not a day that goes by that I don't get the question, what can I do to protect myself from EMFs? And we haven't had a concise, I really like this until BlueShield came around. I think some of the other things give us a sense of peace, and maybe they work a little, and anything's better than nothing. However, I really am backing BlueShield and putting my money on this racehorse. So thank you for joining us today, Brandon from BlueShield.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I am along with Matt at Nutrition World, and he's very much into working out, very fit, and we are going to try to do the RFK challenge of the push-ups and the chin-ups. We're going to do it 2 weeks from now, and we are training for it. And today, I about killed myself.
So real quick, tell me it again because I wasn't paying attention.
Okay,
Usually I don't listen when you talk. So. What did you say?
100 push-ups and 50 chin-ups in less than 10 minutes. Supposedly, RFK did it in about 5 minutes and 17 seconds. I would have to see the whole video because I almost don't believe it.
100 push-ups and 50 chin-ups.
Yep. And
pull-ups or chin-ups? Big difference.
I'm going to do this right here.
Overhand grip, palms facing away. That's a pull-up, I think.
And I'm doing, every day I'm doing either one or the other. I do 100 push-ups yesterday. I did 50 chin-ups a day. I'm going back and forth. But putting those two together is going to be pretty dang tough, and we are going to do the best we can. As long as I'm under 10 minutes, I'm fine. But I would like to beat that 5 minutes and 17-second thing.
So it's 20 and 10. Yeah, I think you can do that.
Oh, no. I got so winded today after trying to pop out 50 quick chin-ups. I did do 100 push-ups yesterday in 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
But if you did 20 push-ups and 10 pull-ups every minute, you'd be all right.
I know. I'm going to try that and see if that works. Or if
I think you'd break it up. That's just me.
Yes. Well, hey, I love this study here because it may help you, Clint. I don't know. But in 1992, an Egyptian scientist, Dr. Shafiq, published research that should have been revolutionized how we think about clothing, okay? His experiment was elegantly simple. Pay attention, Clint.
I'm sorry, what? No,
he had 14 healthy men wear a polyester scrotal sling, okay?
Okay.
The scrotal sling.
I just wish, I'm glad you're in here today because I think I'm real glad we're starting to document his facial expressions when he's proud of himself for getting something out. When he looks right at me and dead, here's what happens, just in case y'all wonder. He goes, he invented the scrotal sling.
I do. I can't help it.
I know.
Okay, maybe let me get back to the point here.
Go back to your
So essentially,
stuff.
a polyester hammock for the testicles, in case you didn't know what that was.
Wow, you're just going to keep
And he
going,
made them wear it continuously for 140 days. This is real. This is real stuff. And what happened was shocking. Every single man became a zoospermic. That means their sperm dropped to zero, because all of that tightness with the polyester was basically poisoning that part of the body. And the female partners stopped using birth control for an entire year, and not a single pregnancy occurred. The polyester underwear had rendered these men temporarily sterile. Now, that's something to think about. I'm not going to ask what kind of...
No, it's not. There's nothing for me to think about on that. You thought about it for me and told it to me, and now I don't have to think about it anymore. I'm not thinking about polyester.
I'm not asking what kind of underwear you wear either.
I'm just not thinking about that in period. Yeah.
Well,
got it. Yeah.
How about cotton? I think this is the whole crux of this study is let's just wear cotton.
Okay.
Duh.
Okay.
And organic best, but those are expensive. But at least wear cotton because female dogs wearing polyester underwear, I don't know if your dog wore polyester underwear, for extended periods of time showed dramatically suppressed hormone levels, and the females were failed to conceive just from a dog having polyester underwear.
That's a Babylon Bee study. There's no way that's a real study. Dogs don't wear underwear. What are we talking about here?
This cloth. It's just cloth. They just used the word underwear, Clint. That was just the way they talked about it.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where we're going with this because.
Hey, this was
So I guess the cereal, you don't want a hot dog. Gotcha. You don't. I got you. Keep going.
I didn't get that.
No, I know you didn't, but they will. The listeners will. It's okay.
Hey, how many? Have you ever had motion sickness much?
No.
I've been pretty darn lucky in my life, but a lot of people really do. This one really intrigued me because it makes sense, but I would have never thought about it without this study. First off, motion sickness is caused by sensory mismatch between what your eyes see and what your inner ear detects. And many people with migraines or anxiety or has a family history of motion sickness are more likely to develop symptoms because of this increased sensitivity. But here's what was intriguing to me. Electric vehicles introduce a new form of sensory mismatch that confuses your nervous system. How could that be? Well, it makes sense because unlike gas-powered cars, electric vehicles often accelerate rapidly and quietly, which creates a disconnect between what your body feels and what your ears expect to hear. So it's a mismatch because we're so used to the car going, but you hear the engine going. And when the car goes, you don't hear the engine. There's a mismatch within the inner ear, and it has caused a lot of these problems with inner ear problems because of that. And ginger still the number one remedy for all of that if people want something natural. But the other things to do for this is train your brain to adapt with short daily exposures of things that are making you nauseous. Very short. Use that for pilots, jet pilots, and anybody who flies. And pick your seats strategically every time you travel. When you sit, where you sit could make or break your experience. If you're in a car, always ride in the front seat and look straight ahead. Or on a plane, you book a seat over the wings. That's very interesting. And speaking of flying, I am back flying the 1942 Stearman that I kind of tore up 5 years ago on Thanksgiving by not landing on a runway, but landing in some dirt.
Okay.
And saving it in the last minute. And it was very exciting. Very exciting. Very challenging to get back on a horse after you've fallen off and really almost hurt yourself.
But you've been flying since then, other stuff, right?
Other stuff, but there's nothing like flying this biplane, open cockpit, and have like a Snoopy mask or Scoopy hat on, and you can barely hear. The wind's blowing you in the face at 100 miles an hour. It is a thrill.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And I know better than to even ask you whether you're going to go.
No, I won't go.
And, kidney stones, if you have a lot of kidney stones, there's not much advice you get when you go to the doctor about it. And it's not their fault. Traditional medicine just lives in somewhat of a bubble. It takes a lot to get in that bubble of new information. But this was intriguing to me. Low testosterone levels increase kidney stone risk by 65%.
Wow.
And again, we talk about males in our society. The males that are 20 to 30 have far less testosterone in the past 20 years than they ever did before that.
I think, if we're not mistaken, the 20, 30-year-olds have the same testosterone levels like a 50 or 60-year-old
something like that
had in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
There's Josh over at Optimize You knows those stats pretty well.
Yep, and Josh is the go-to for me.
Absolutely.
And in nutritional world, you can do a product called Masculinity that will raise it probably 15%. If you want to experiment with something. And I know Scott has a lot of testimonies about masculinity doing that. We've actually seen people on blood testing, and it does go up modestly, but that doesn't help if you need a lot of it.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. If I had a history of
have you ever had a kidney stone?
No.
Oh, wow.
Let's not even talk about that.
Yeah.
I keep getting this question because it was on social media about.
By the way, my kidney stone worked out, and thank you for caring about that. But continue on. I appreciate that when it's my problem.
Did you say you had a kidney stone?
Yeah, I had a kidney stone. You glossed right over it. You're like, you talked about your constipation and your scrotal sling over there that you're always wearing. And I'm like, I had a kidney stone. So did you know that dogs that wear I'm like, just, okay.
I thought listen, this is the truth, Clint, okay? Let me be honest.
Okay.
I thought you said you had not had a kidney stone.
No, I had a kidney stone. I was just trying to contribute to the conversation.
Tell me how it was.
Me too. I've had something.
I thought you said you didn't.
It sucked out loud, Ed. I cried like a small child that had lost its parents in a parking lot.
Come over here. Come here. Put your head on my lap.
It was a long time ago, and immediately I start hurting when I think about it. Back to your research,
I'm going to rub that bald head when I get done.
Not either, but thank you, sir. Yeah.
Hey, microplastics. I am very concerned about everybody's health because these things they feel like we're ingesting a credit card size level of microplastics monthly, not yearly, monthly. And one of those is, of course, bottled water. But here's the new twist is, oh my gosh, they've tested these bottled waters that were in glass and they still had huge amounts. Well, now we know the truth of that. The French government study found that glass bottles contain 5 to 50 times more microplastics than plastic. But guess what? They come from the caps, not from the glass and not from the bottles. It's how they make the caps that go on these glass bottles. And so if I'm going to do that, which I do sometimes if I'm out, I just went to Orlando. I got thirsty in the airport. What did I do? I went and bought a bottle of water. You just take a napkin and wipe the top of the bottle off. That's cheap.
Yeah, things have changed so much. We used to drink water out of the water hose. It went through the hot plastic hose and out the rusty spigots and just drank it up. After you let it run for about 20, 30 seconds, let the brown water get out and get it go from scorching hot to somewhat moderately just lukewarm. And then we'd all drink it in the front yard.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
One is the water was probably cleaner. Two, maybe. I don't even know that for sure.
I don't know.
No, I do know that for sure as far as the dumping
But it hadn't
of
had
chemicals.
microplastics in it because it was a plastic water hose.
And it smelled like plastic.
Yeah, it smelled like hot water out of a hose.
It smelled like those daggum shower curtains when you'd get, your mama would get them and put them in the shower. Do you remember how bad those plastic was?
Yeah.
In those shower curtains?
Yeah.
Awful. Absolutely awful, awful.